Marcus stood on the bridge, staring at the dark water below. It was 2 a.m. on a frigid December night in Portland, and he'd lost everything: his job at the tech startup, his apartment, and worst of all, custody of his daughter Emma. The final eviction notice had come 3 days ago. Tonight, he'd spent his last $7 on a burger he couldn't even finish. What he didn't know was that someone was watching him. "Cold night to be out here," a gravelly voice said behind him. Marcus spun around. An elderly man with a white beard stood there, wearing a worn brown jacket and a beanie. He looked homeless himself, carrying a large, tattered backpack. "I'm fine," Marcus muttered, turning back to the railing. "No, you're not." The old man shuffled closer, his breath visible in the freezing air. "I've stood where you're standing, 42 years ago, right on this very bridge." Marcus said nothing. "Name's Frank," the stranger continued. "And I'm going to tell you something that saved my life. You don't have to believe me, but you need to hear it." "I don't need a sermon," Marcus said coldly. "Good, because I'm not religious." Frank leaned against the bridge railing beside him. "I'm just a man who was about to jump until another stranger told me something that changed my perspective forever." Despite himself, Marcus was listening. Frank reached into his backpack and pulled out a thermos. "Coffee." He poured some into the cap and handed it to Marcus, who took it with trembling hands. The warmth felt like life itself. "That stranger asked me a simple question," Frank continued. He said, "If you could see your life 10 years from now, and it turned out better than you ever imagined, would you still jump?" And I realized I couldn't see the future. None of us can. We think we know how the story ends, but we're always wrong. Marcus felt tears stinging his eyes. "You don't understand. I've lost my daughter. I failed her." "Have you?" Frank asked gently. "Or have you just hit a chapter you didn't expect?" "What difference does it make?" Marcus's voice broke. "I have nothing to offer her. No home, no job, no future." Frank was quiet for a moment, then reached back into his backpack. He pulled out a worn envelope and handed it to Marcus. "What's this?" Marcus asked. "Open it." Inside was a check for $5,000, made out to cash. Marcus stared at it in disbelief. I can't take this. You look like you need it more than me." Frank laughed, a deep, warm sound. "You'd be surprised. That stranger on this bridge 42 years ago, he gave me $50, told me to get a warm meal and a motel room, and to promise I'd think about his question. I did. I got help. I got sober. I started a small carpentry business in my garage. Last year, I sold it for $1.2 million. Marcus couldn't speak. "I've been coming to this bridge every December for the past 40 years, Frank said, his voice thick with emotion. "Hoping to find someone who needs what that stranger gave me. Not just money, but a reason to believe that the story isn't over." "Why?" Marcus whispered. "Why do you do this?" "Because that stranger told me something else." He said, "Frank, your life isn't just your own. Somewhere down the line, you're going to save someone else. Maybe many people, but only if you stick around to do it." Frank's eyes glistened. He was right. I've been married 38 years. I have 3 kids, 7 grandchildren. I've employed over 60 people over the years. And I've stood on this bridge with 12 other people like you. Every single one of them chose to walk away. Marcus looked at the check, then at Frank. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just make me a promise." Frank placed a firm hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Use this money to get back on your feet. Find a room, get some decent clothes, and fight for your daughter. Show that judge you're not done. And 10 years from now, when life is better than you can imagine right now, you find someone who needs what I'm giving you tonight." Marcus broke down completely, and Frank pulled him into a hug. They stood there on that bridge, 2 strangers who were strangers no longer, as the first snow of winter began to fall. 10 years later, Marcus stood in his small community center in southeast Portland. On the wall hung a photo of Frank, who had passed away 5 years earlier from cancer. Beneath it was a plaque. "The story isn't over." Emma, now 17, volunteered beside him every weekend. They ran a program helping unemployed parents get back on their feet, job training, resume workshops, and temporary housing assistance. Tonight was special. Marcus had a thermos of coffee and an envelope in his pocket. He'd been coming to the Burnside Bridge every December for the past 3 years, hoping to honor Frank's tradition. At 2 a.m., he saw a young woman standing at the railing, her posture speaking volumes. Marcus took a deep breath and walked forward. "Cold night to be out here," he said gently. "We never truly know the reach of our kindness. Every act of compassion creates ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. When we choose to help someone in their darkest moment, we're not just changing one life, we're changing all the lives that person will touch. Your story isn't over, and neither is anyone else's." Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is remind someone that tomorrow is unwritten and that they matter more than they know. In a world that often feels cold and indifferent, be the stranger who stops. Be the person who sees. Be the one who reminds others that hope isn't foolish. It's the bravest thing we can hold on to. Because somewhere down the line, you might just change someone's life forever. What act of kindness changed your life? Share in the comments below. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.